Sandwiches are strong these days.
I used to be able to eat a whole sandwich by myself.
Number 10. Frozen background character. This was one of those things that you couldn't unsee once you saw it. And when you did see it, you might wish you hadn't. When Marshall explains how Barney surviving getting a pencil stuck up his nose was a miracle, we saw a flashback of the extraordinary moment.
No way. That did not just happen.
Am I dead? Am I dead? Miracle!
What viewers may not have noticed was an extra sitting in the booth behind him. While the background characters are normally pretty unremarkable, this one was quite noticeable in an eerie way. Throughout the entire scene, he stayed absolutely still while smiling with his eyes wide open, and we didn't even see him blink.
A pencil went up Barney's nose and you call it a miracle.
Well, do you have a better explanation for it?
A drunk jackass with a box of pencils?
It was an odd element of the scene that we're sure was unplanned, but still, we could not look away.
No way. That did not just happen.
Number 9. The Loch Ness Monster. It was no secret that Marshall had a soft spot for myths, the supernatural, and the like. He was vocal about his beliefs in aliens and Sasquatch, and he had a fondness for the Loch Ness Monster.
Highlands and Glasgow?
Loch Ness. Nessie. Baby, I would love to search for the enchanted creature of the Emerald Loch.
But it looks like his suspicions about the Scottish creature might have been correct, as we saw in a flash forward to the year 2029 from a season 3 episode. While Marshall opened a letter from Lily at his desk, there was an interesting newspaper clipping framed in the background.
That's it? I suck? Lily!
Yes, you suck. You said you wouldn't read it, and you did.
The headline read, "NYC lawyer captures Nessie," and we can only assume this was referring to Marshall, considering his career path. If only How I Met Your Mother had shown Marshall capturing the monster, then he could have really put all those naysayers in their place.
I don't want him now.
What is that supposed to mean?
What? Nothing! Nothing! You're beautiful!
Number 8. The Missed Cab. Despite Ted and Barney's friendship being strained, Barney desperately tried to get to the hospital to see Ted after his accident.
130, what? I'm coming, Ted.
On his trek to the hospital, the show had a clever way of showing us how impressively fast Barney was able to make it there. When his cab was stolen by a group with balloons, Barney was forced to run to the hospital. When he got there, we saw the same cab with the balloons arriving. Too bad he wasn't able to hop in with them, as he would have avoided his near-death bus accident.
I made it. I made it.
But maybe then he and Ted wouldn't have made up, so perhaps it all worked out just the way it was supposed to.
Ted, can we be friends again?
Barney, come on, we're more than friends. We're brothers.
You're my brother, Ted.
You're my brother, Barney.
Number 7. Clue colors. When Marshall went home to Minnesota, he created an evidence board using characters from Clue to represent his friends in an attempt to figure out what was going on with Ted and Zoe.
Zoe's in love with Ted and Ted doesn't know. So Ted and Zoe, they're in love with each other, which would be fine if Zoe wasn't married to Colonel Mustard. I mean the captain.
The creators cleverly played into this by dressing each character in the color associated with their personas in the game. Ted was purple for Mr. Plum, Zoe was in white for Mrs. White, Honey was dressed in red for Ms. Scarlet, and Barney donned green to match the character of the same name.
He's in love with Ted, but she's married, so she tried to push him away by setting him up with her cousin instead. But seeing Ted and Honey hit it off was more than her gentle heart could bear.
This is something you'd only notice upon many a rewatch, and we couldn't help but applaud the creators' creativity in bringing the beloved board game to life.
So help me, Marshall. If you don't call those two crazy, mixed-up kids, I will.
Give me that phone.
Number 6. Chopsticks. Barney Stinson was a mysterious character to say the least, and it seemed like nothing about him was random or uncalculated.
Still don't believe it.
I told you. Okay, a toast. Life is full of changes.
We saw a variety of scenes throughout the show in which the gang was eating food with chopsticks, and when you looked closely, you noticed that Barney was never able to get the food to his mouth while he was using chopsticks. This may have just seemed like an odd quirk, but we learned later this was all part of a bigger scheme.
You had the trigger. All you needed then was to want something from me. And then one day, those somethings came a busting out.
Not only could he eat with chopsticks, he was trained in teppanyaki cooking and was saving his skills for a very special bet that had been years in the making.
Well, I guess that's everything you asked me to do, is it not? Oh, wait! The shrimp in the pocket. A modern classic. And now, for 1 minute on second base.
Number 5, La Vie en Rose. This song was involved in significant moments with both of Ted's big loves.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
In season 1, Ted and Robin shared a New Year's kiss while this song played. And in season 9, Ted overheard Tracy for the first time when she sang her version. La Vie en Rose was fitting for the show's protagonist, as he was certainly a romantic that saw the world through rose-colored glasses and endless optimism, just like the song suggests.
Hold me close and hold me fast, this magic spell you cast, this is La Vie en Rose.
Songs were an important element of the show, and we also heard an orchestral version of Sandcastles in the Sand play as Robin walked down the aisle to marry Barney, and this was the song that brought them together in the first place. Number 4, 420.
Sandwiches are strong these days.
I used to be able to eat a whole sandwich by myself. Now it's like 2 bites and I am done.
While it's no secret that Ted, Marshall, and Lily indulged in the more than occasional sandwich, that wasn't the only reference to the drug that appeared throughout the show.
I'm just gonna hang it right here on the wall. Oh, so it's like that, is it?
If you look closely, the clock that hung above the fireplace in the trio's apartment never changed, and it was always set to 420. This was clearly a reference to the gang's smoking habit, as that is infamously the number and time of day associated with it. The clock didn't change no matter who lived there, so either the friends were too lazy to fix the clock, or they just liked it the way it was.
I observe something. This is kind of awesome. Totally. I can't believe we didn't do this before. Oh, no!
Looks like at the gang's apartment, it was always time to enjoy some sandwiches. Number 3, low point. When Barney convinced Ted to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, a series of bad decisions ensued.
The universe is telling us that we have a free pass tonight. The universe is saying that we don't have to live in fear of the... Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Of the repercussions of our actions.
They did everything from leave their dates behind to putting expensive booze on a stranger's tab. And it looked as though there were no consequences for the duo.
No tomorrow, Ted!
Yeah, no tomorrow, Barney.
No tomorrow, huh? I like that idea.
But Ted's memories of the night were skewed, and both Ted and Barney reached a low point by morning, with Barney even waking up in a dumpster. When Ted returned to the bar to search for his lost phone, it was revealed that the bar was aptly called Low Point. In later seasons, we learned this was meaningful on several levels. As it turned out, the titular mother was there and was also at a low point.
I got to the club, it had already closed. By the next day, some super inconsiderate person had taken my umbrella.
Number 2, the countdown. While most of the hidden background elements featured on the show were fun and playful, this one hinted at one of the saddest moments in the series.
I'm just worried we can't have children.
And how long have you been trying?
6 days.
But then months went by and still nothing happened.
Something must be wrong.
While Lily and Marshall visit a fertility specialist and get a surprise visit from Marshall's parents, hidden throughout the episode were numbers that were counting down the episode from 50 to 0.
Everything's off the charts. You, sir? I've got some strong swimmers. Bro, that is awesome! Motility 5! Ooh.
When it reached 1, the audience and Marshall received some news. While the actors themselves even thought that the news was going to be Lily's pregnancy, the shocking announcement was that Marshall's father had died.
Had a heart attack. He didn't make it.
My dad said?
The creators wanted to provide this twist to explore how sudden and devastating real-life loss can feel, and boy, did they nail it. Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Lily's belongings. After Lily and Marshall sell their stuff early on, we can see her belongings reappear later in the show.
Can't believe it. I really thought you and I were friends. Lord knows I could use a friend right now. I've been...
Cropped wedding photos. In the background of future Ted's home, the newlyweds seen behind the kids are cropped so we can't see the mother.
Let's look at the facts here. You made us sit down and listen to the story about how you met Mom. Yet Mom is hardly in the story.
Conan O'Brien. In a blink and you'll miss it moment, Conan O'Brien can be seen hanging out at McLaren's.
There really is a sex tape.
Number 1. All of the clues about the mother. The show's creators dropped many clues about the mother throughout the show's 9 seasons.
What the heck are you doing here?
What the heck are you doing here?
I wanted to see Dad today, in private.
Well, I had the same idea, and I drove all the way from Mom, so get lost.
But what we didn't know was, a lot of clues were actually hinting at her untimely demise. When the gang was joking endlessly about Canada, we saw a couple's entire love story play out in the backdrop, and it foreshadowed a lot of Ted and Tracy's future.
Canada. What, is everyone going to have access to universal health care so no one has to choose between going bankrupt and treating a life-threatening illness?
Canada? What's the band going to play for your first dance? Crash Test Dummies?
Furthermore, when Marshall visited his father's grave, we saw a headstone that simply read Mother. And lastly, Ted was reading Love in the Time of Cholera when he first met Tracy, and the book mirrored his life in many ways. It dealt with sickness, love, and lovesickness, all things Ted was all too familiar with by the end of the series. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MsMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.